Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking into a story that's frankly deeply chilling. It's about Sante and Kenny Kimes. And this isn't just one single crime. It's this whole saga, decades of manipulation, greed, violence, and murder. We're talking about a mother-son partnership here, often called the Bonnie and Clyde of their time. It's quite a disturbing look into, well, the dark side of human nature. It all starts, as these things often do, with a pretty shocking discovery. And that discovery just unravels this huge, complex web of crime. Let's get into it. Okay, so picture this. Los Angeles, March 14th, 1998. It's just another morning until a homeless person just looking through a dumpster in an alley finds something horrifying. It's the body of a man, a white male, wrapped up in a garbage bag. It just discarded. Police get there, secure the scene. The victim, no identification on him. Single gunshot wound back of the head. But there's this detail, right? His feet, they're clean, really clean. And that immediately tells experienced investigators, this isn't where he was killed. It's a body dump. The coroner works fast, identifies the victim as David Kazdin. So detectives head over to his house. His adult kids are already there, obviously upset. They notice two things right away. Their dad's car is gone. And there's blue paint scraped onto a stone wall by the driveway. Same color blue as David's car. Suggests someone left in a real hurry, maybe hit the wall on the way out. Detectives ask the obvious question. Did your father have any enemies? And the kids, they don't hesitate. Not for a second. They name Sante Kimes, she's 65 at this point, and her son Kenny, who's 23. They even have proof, sort of. A letter David wrote to Sante just days before. In it, he refuses flat out to help her with some kind of a loan fraud scheme. And the daughter remembers something else, something really chilling. Her dad warned her about a specific car he'd seen parked near the house. Told her, if you ever see that car, don't go outside. Like he knew something bad was coming.
Yeah, that's incredibly significant. Usually in a homicide, identifying suspects takes time, legwork. But here, the family points investigators straight at the Kimes duo, and they provide a motive of this loan dispute almost immediately. The letter, the daughter's warning, it paints a picture of fear, of someone who knew they were in danger from these specific people. It's not random. It feels very personal, very targeted.
So investigators start digging into Sante Kimes, and what they find is, well, it's a lot. And it's deeply disturbing. Her rap sheet is long, theft, fraud, yeah, but then there's this charge, involuntary servitude, basically slavery. Turns out Sante had this horrific pattern. She'd lure immigrants, mostly from Mexico and Latin America, promising them work, good treatment. But once they were in her grasp, it was pure exploitation, making them clean floors that were already spotless, telling them they couldn't leave, couldn't talk to anyone. And the violence is brutal. She burned one maid with an iron, beat another with coat hangers because she didn't think they cleaned right. And these poor people, they got no pay, nothing. They were undocumented, totally dependent on her, completely at her mercy. It's just extreme cruelty and control. Beyond the brutality, she was apparently a real manipulator. She looked a lot like Elizabeth Taylor, apparently, and she played that up. Used it to get attention, even free stuff. Used her looks and charisma, I guess, to dominate people, men and women. Then in 1970, she sets her sights on Ken Kimes Sr. He's a real estate millionaire, recently divorced. She reads about him in a magazine, finds out how rich he is, and she does her homework, finds out his favorite color is white, his favorite scent is gardenias, and she just transforms herself into his ideal woman. Dresses expensively, acts rich, even though she wasn't all designed to trap him, and, well, it worked. She moves in with Ken Sr., and with his money backing her up, that's when the abuse of the maids really seems to escalate. Ken Sr. apparently knew about her, criminal side, but he was kind of smitten, I guess. Let her do her thing. Sante was definitely calling the shots. 1975, Kenny Jr. is born. For Sante, this secures her future, right? Mother of a millionaire son. But Kenny's upbringing. It wasn't normal. He was treated like a prince, yeah, but also totally isolated, homeschooled, no outside friends allowed. And she pulls him into her criminal world right from the start, like having him hide shoplifted items in his stroller as a baby, indoctrinated from day one. There was this brief period, though, almost like a chance for him. Sante went to jail for slavery. Supposed to be 5 years, she served 3. While she was gone, Kenny actually lived a somewhat normal life with his dad.
Went to a good Catholic school, even made some friends. Ken Sr. apparently admitted he spoiled him rotten, trying to, buy his affection after everything, but it didn't last. Sante gets out in 89, and boom, back to the old patterns, total control. Then, 1993, Ken Sr. dies, suddenly, aneurysm, and Sante discovers she's got nothing. Her name isn't on any deeds, any bank accounts. His will leaves everything to his kids from his first marriage. Sante and Kenny Jr. cut out completely. She's desperate, freaking out, financially stranded. So she calls Kenny, who's away at college by this point, and just dumps all of it on him. All the stress, the panic. Kenny, he drops out of college, comes straight home, becomes her full-time partner in crime, basically, trying to figure out ways to get their hands on Ken Sr.'s assets.
That conditioning you mentioned, it's absolutely crucial here. Kenny never really got the chance to form his own moral framework, separate from hers. He wasn't just raised as her son. He was molded into her tool, really, deeply tangled up in her schemes from such a young age. It makes you question, how much real choice did he have when your entire reality, your entire sense of self is shaped by someone that manipulative, that controlling.
So it's not just about him making bad decisions later on. It's like the foundation itself was corrupted.
Exactly. His baseline for normal or right was whatever Sante dictated, and she knew how to manipulate that dependence, that bond. We see that play out tragically later.
Okay, so back to the Kazdin murder investigation in L.A. The motive becomes crystal clear. Sante had forged David Kazdin's signature to get a huge loan, like $280,000 on a house she owned. David found out when the loan payment book arrived in his mail. He did the right thing, reported it to the bank. The bank froze the account. Police traced the money that had already been transferred. Yep, it went straight to Sante. Clear financial gain. And after David blew the whistle, Sante didn't just disappear. She called him, threatened him, told him to go along with the fraud, basically, or else. So motive, check. Threat, check. Then police go check out the house involved in the loan. It's in Las Vegas, and it's been burned to the ground. Arson. And Sante and Kenny, gone. Vanished. Investigators tracked down the notary public whose stamp was on that fraudulent loan document. Turns out Sante had tricked her, claiming she had power of attorney for David Kazdin. The notary also mentions doing paperwork for another deed on that same Vegas house, putting it in the name of a Robert McCarran. Just Sante trying to cover her tracks, move assets around. So police think maybe Robert McCarran is another victim, maybe kidnapped, but they find him. He's okay, staying in a homeless shelter, and he tells them this story. Sante hired him to be a kind of handyman, a houseman. She also hired a chauffeur named Sean. And Sante told Sean to basically watch Robert, and if he didn't follow orders, Sean was supposed to assault him, keep him in line. And get this, Robert eventually escaped and called 911, that 911 call. It was the same one that led police to Sante years earlier for the slavery charges. Small world, huh? Okay, so Sean, the chauffeur, the police talked to him again, and he admits something crucial. He sold Kenny gun, a .22 caliber handgun. Ballistics comes back later. It's a match. The gun Sean sold Kenny is the gun that killed David Kazdin. Meanwhile, Sante and Kenny are bouncing around. Police track them to Florida. Their plan apparently was to get to the Bahamas. Ken Sr. had offshore money there Sante was desperate to get. But before the LA detectives can catch up, they're on the move again, this time to New York City, figuring, bigger city, bigger targets, more money to be made, or stolen. And they find their next target pretty quickly, an 82-year-old woman named Irene Silverman. She's a wealthy socialite, former ballerina, living in this gorgeous multi-million-dollar mansion on the Upper East Side. She rented out rooms, partly for income, partly for company. And how did Sante find her? Same way she found Ken Sender read about her wealth in a magazine. June 14th, 1998. Sante and Kenny roll into New York. Kenny uses an alias, Manny Guerin. Goes to Irene's mansion, rents apartment 1B, pays the first month $6,000 in cash. A few days later, his assistant, quote-unquote, moves in, calls herself Eva. It's Sante, of course. Their plan is just audacious. Get rid of Irene Silverman, steal her identity, forge documents, take over her townhouse, her money, everything. But Irene, she wasn't easily fooled. She gets suspicious. This Manny Guerin keeps dodging her request for a proper credit application, references. And she notices him acting weird in the hallways, like deliberately staying out of sight of the security cameras, hugging the walls. She starts telling her friend she's worried about these new tenants. And on July 5th, she decides that's it. She's going to evict them.
We're seeing a definite escalation here, aren't we? From fraud and exploitation, horrific as that was, to now calculated murder. And the targeting seems deliberate, vulnerable individuals, often elderly. The use of aliases, the forgeries, the intricate planning alongside the outright violence, it shows how their criminal methods were evolving. They were getting bolder, definitely. But maybe, just maybe, a little bit sloppier too, more reckless.
Then comes a huge break. A guy named Stan, who knew them from L.A., calls the police. Sante actually called him from New York, invited him to come out, manage this apartment building she claimed she was about to buy, and she told him to bring his toys, which Stan knew meant his gun collection. Police see their chance. They set up a sting using Stan. Stan arranges to meet Sante and Kenny at a hotel. NYPD sets up surveillance. And right around 5 p.m., they move in and arrest them both. Okay, now here's where it gets really synchronistic, almost like a movie. At the exact same time Sante and Kenny are being arrested at the hotel, police across town get a call to Irene Silverman's mansion. Irene is missing. Her staff, the rental agent, they immediately point fingers at the weird tenant in 1B, this Manny Guerin. Detectives want to talk to him, obviously. They have no idea that Manny is actually Kenny Kimes, and he's already in custody. The next day, Irene's disappearance is huge news. Front page stuff. Witnesses give descriptions of Mandy Guerin. Police put out a sketch, and a federal agent sees it and goes, wait a minute, that's Kenny Kimes. We just arrested him yesterday. So NYPD detectives go talk to Sante and Kenny, ask them about Irene Silverman, about the mansion. They both deny everything, flat out. Never heard of her, never been there. Day after that, police find their car, Sante and Kenny's car. And inside, oh boy, it's a gold mine of evidence. Guns of .45, a 9mm Glock, a stun gun, a date rape drug, GHB, $22,000 in cash, and forged documents, social security cards, driver's licenses, and a forged power of attorney in Irene Silverman's name. But maybe the most damning thing, 13 spiral notebooks kept by Sante meticulously, filled with notes about their plans, their schemes, things like get social security number, elderly people, easy targets. Yeah, and then just chillingly specific, kill DK, David Kazdin, written right there. So a few weeks later, the LAPD detectives fly out to New York. They want to talk to Sante and Kenny about David Kazdin's murder. They've got the motive, they've got the notebooks, but they still don't have direct physical evidence tying them to the actual killing. No witness to the murder itself, no murder weapon recovered. Remember, the guns found in the car weren't the .22 used on Kazdin. So police decide to re-interview Sean, the chauffeur. His name pops up a lot in Sante's notebooks. And this time, Sean tells them everything. The full, gruesome story of David Kazdin's murder, how Kenny picked him up that morning. Drove to David's house. Sean waited outside, heard a shot. Kenny comes out, tells Sean to back David's own car into the garage. They load David's body into the trunk, drive out near the airport, dump the body in that dumpster. Kenny tosses the .22 down the sewer drain. And then, the final, just bizarre detail. They stop at a flower shop. Kenny buys flowers for Sante. Based on Sean's new testimony, police go back to David Kazdin's house. They use luminol. And sure enough, they find traces of blood spatter in the kitchen. Exactly where Sean said the murder happened. It confirms his story. Prosecutors now have their star witness. December 16th, 1998. Sante and Kenny are arraigned in New York. They face 84 separate charges, including second-degree murder for Irene Silverman. Now, remember, for Irene, they still don't have a body, no confession, no DNA linking them directly. But the prosecution builds this massive circumstantial case. They call 125 witnesses. May 18th, 2000, the verdict comes in. Guilty on all counts.
Sentenced to almost 250 years each. Life, basically. Sante, of course, puts on a performance, goes on TV, talks to reporters, claims she's innocent, framed, the whole 9 yards. But it's not over. They still have to face trial in California for David Kazdin's murder. Before that trial starts, though, October 2000, Kenny has this unbelievable meltdown. He's doing an interview with Court TV. Suddenly, he just snaps. Rushes the reporter, grabs her, holds her hostage for 4 hours, his weapon, a ballpoint pen held to her throat, his demand that his mother not be extradited to California where they could face the death penalty. Eventually, negotiators talk him down, subdue him, just chaos. The Kazdin trial finally gets underway in 2004, but then another twist. Their star witness, Sean, the chauffeur, he disappears, vanishes, can't be found, just when things look shaky for the prosecution. Kenny makes a deal. He agrees to testify against his own mother. But there's a condition. The death penalty has to be taken off the table for both of them. So Kenny takes the stand. For 3 days, he confesses everything. He details David Kazdin's murder just as Sean had described. And then he finally reveals what happened to Irene Silverman. He says he and Sante watched her through the peephole in their apartment door, 1B, waited until she was alone in the hallway. Kenny opened the door. Sante zapped her with a stun gun. Then Kenny strangled her with his bare hands. They put her body in a big duffel bag, carried it out, drove miles away, and dumped her body in a construction dumpster behind a gas station in New Jersey. Irene Silverman's body has never been recovered. Kenny pleads guilty in California, gets another life sentence. Sante. She decides to represent herself in the Kazdin trial, continues to insist she's innocent, calls the trial a Salem witch trial, accuses the prosecutors of murdering the Constitution. She's so disruptive, making statements to the media, the judge eventually has to gag her, order her to stop talking to reporters, word she's trying to taint the jury pool. July 7th, 2004. The California jury finds Sante guilty of first-degree murder for David Kazdin. Another life sentence. She died in prison, natural causes, May 2014. She was 79, never admitted to anything, never confessed. Kenny is still serving his life sentences in California.
That final act, Kenny's confession, it really underscores the sheer power of Sante's manipulation. He confessed to save her from the death penalty, and in doing so, he gave the prosecutors everything they needed to close both murder cases definitively. It's just a disturbing illustration of how that lifelong conditioning, that abuse, created that person who would commit horrific acts, perhaps conflictedly, but ultimately at her behest. And Sante's own behavior, even at the end, the theatrics, the denial in the face of overwhelming proof, it's a testament to her pathological level of control and narcissism. Truly chilling.
Yeah, chilling is the word. The story of Sante and Kenny Kimes.
It's just this dark spiral of greed, lies, and ultimately murder. A really disturbing mother-son dynamic. They definitely earned that Bonnie and Clyde label, didn't they? And as we wrap this up, you're left with this really uncomfortable question, aren't you? With Kenny, how much of it was him, his own choices? And how much was just the inevitable result of decades under Sante's absolute suffocating control, that kind of lifelong brainwashing? Can anyone really break free from that entirely? It's hard to say. Well, that's our deep dive into the Kimes case. We hope you found it as compelling and frankly as unsettling as we did putting it together. If you found the story fascinating, please do give it a like, maybe share it with someone else who appreciates these darker narratives. And be sure to subscribe to the deep dives for more explorations like this one. We'll be back soon with another story. Thanks for listening.